that really set it all off for me was a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Here, I'm like 4 classes away from graduating, and I'm sitting inside of one of my classes listening to the professor, and I'm just checked out. That I had one book that really changed things for me, which was a part of that journey of my education, let's call it.
Good morning and welcome back to next episode of Elevate. This is Manit, your host, and we are having a special guest today with us. As you know, we bring a lot of high achievers every week. Until now, we've been bringing new immigrants who have came to Canada from a third world country and achieved a lot. But today we have a second generation of immigrant whose parents came from Philippines actually, and the only age of 27 he have achieved high remarkable achievements, and I think his story will inspire a lot of us. So Denzel, welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
Doing pretty good.
Thank you so much for the time. I know you're very busy. Sometime I call him, he'll call me back in maybe 2 days. I'm just kidding. He's very, very efficient. You know, you call him, even if he's busy, he'll take the phone calls, which is very good.
Yeah.
So how's everything with you?
Things are going good. It's been super busy. We have a lot on the go right now. I think we have like 8 flips that we have ongoing, maybe 3 that should be coming to the market right away. And I'm also in the middle of unloading some of my rentals. So a part of that 8 doesn't include the rentals that I'll be looking to sell.
Yeah.
It's more like 11 houses in the next 60 days. So there's a lot of business going on for
So
sure.
you're busy.
Yeah,
Very
really
busy. We'll be talking about real estate too, but let's start from the beginning. So you were born here in Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So you're not one of those like me who came to Canada with no experience or no nothing.
Definitely, I think the experience part. I mean, before getting into real estate or anything like that, no experience there. But yeah, I was born in Canada.
So where did you do the schooling from?
My high school, I was Sisler High School.
Okay.
So actually near the office.
So tell me from beginning, how was the journey as an investor in real estate? What did you do? What motivated you? Let's start from beginning.
Yeah, my parents are really young. They're 43 and 44. So when they had me being 27 years old, they were 18. And growing up, money was always a challenge.
Yeah.
Especially because, well, they're kids, right? 18 years old, having a kid, it's not easy.
Challenging.
There's a lot to learn. Your brain isn't even fully developed.
You're not ready
at 18.
yet. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So growing up, 6, 7 years old, I have a younger brother. He's 3 years younger than me. It was always money was always a conversation that was looked at in a negative way in my house growing up.
Yeah.
And as I got older, into my teenage years, 15, 16, 17 years old, I started to really want to understand why the things were the way they were. And then fast forward to me getting into university, I started to spend more time listening to podcasts and reading books around personal finance to help me understand better of how do you manage the money, how do you make more money, and there's a lot in between that, but that's essentially what really brought me to where I am today.
I think it's more important to manage than to make.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you can make more money and it's gone.
Yeah.
So it's more on how to manage that what's coming in.
Yeah.
Yes. So what kind of books were you reading? Or you still read?
Yeah, I still read, not as much as I should, but the book that really set it all off for me was a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Very, very famous book.
Yeah, it was like people call it like the financial Bible because, after reading that, it was eye-opening just to see how it was looked at from someone who was already rich, and then piecing all of it together and understanding that assets are something that we all want to acquire, and then liabilities are something that we're looking to get rid of. But not all liabilities are bad, right? You could have debt obligations in a rental property that's actually building equity, which
Making you money.
is making you money.
Yeah.
Or you can have a unsecured line of credit and maxing it out because you decided to go on a trip to Mexico,
Yeah.
right? So I
That's
feel like there's a big difference in
that's a
that.
very good point. The matter of fact, the biggest liability we used to know is buying a car.
Yeah.
But there are companies who are buying cars and like supercars and using that as an investment and making money from there.
Yeah.
When you go to big cities like Toronto, Miami, and all those places, that's a big business there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So yeah, that was pretty much the one book that really changed things for me. During COVID, I read a lot more, and another book that opened my mind and expanded my mindset was it's a book called I'm forgetting it now, but shoot, I'm forgetting the book now.
It's okay. We'll message that.
Yeah.
We'll put in the
I
caption.
think it's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Oh, okay.
By Robert Covey. That one is a really good book. I don't know if anyone listening or watching this, I
never heard
highly
about that
recommend
before,
it.
actually.
Yeah, it's a good book. It teaches you a lot more about mindset and life and stuff. And I feel like money aside, it's good to understand money. But if you want to grow a business or even have deeper relationships with people, it's a good book to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So high school and then what?
So after I was finished up at Sisler, I actually got a offer to play for the University of Winnipeg on the basketball team, on the men's basketball team. And that's where whoever knows me before real estate is where I was more known as,
Okay.
big basketball guy in high school, pretty much played all through junior high school, and then I played 5 years at the University of Winnipeg.
Very good.
And during my time there, I was studying kinesiology, and I had a goal to pursue a master's degree after the bachelor's in physio. And at the time, being that my family was all in on the healthcare industry, nurses, healthcare aides, things like that, I naturally moved towards that space.
Yeah.
And no one was really in business or anything outside of health. So naturally, I went into that. But it actually wasn't until the last year of me playing basketball where I realized that I wasn't exactly interested in it, like in the education around health.
Okay.
I was more so pursuing the money that it was going to get me after the fact of completing my education. So I'm in my last year. I'm like 4 classes away from graduating, and I'm sitting inside of one of my classes listening to the professor, and I'm just checked out. I'm thinking to myself, if I'm going to school and the main goal for me after school is to earn an income,
Yeah.
there's got to be a better way for me to make money. Because if I have to wait another 2 to 3 years in order for me to make that salary as a physiotherapist so that it could help accelerate whatever life it is that I was wanting to have,
Yeah.
I wasn't willing to wait. At that time, I was 21 years old, and I'm sitting inside, 21 years old. I'm sitting inside the class, and I just realized it wasn't for me.
I think that's a big difference between a job and a career. A job is that you're just doing something to make money. Career is you're enjoying and accelerating yourself to the next level,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's most people in real estate, especially whether you're a realtor or a developer, it's also fulfilling as you take on something like a massive undertaking like that, right? Like if you're building a big building or just a house, or if you're selling 10, 12 houses a month, like that is fulfilling to reach goals like that, right? And so, me being an ambitious guy, I just felt like I was underachieving going through that route. So what I did was I actually got a job. I left school, so I dropped out, and I took whatever skills I got from school. I mean, outside of like the nuts and bolts of like understanding kinesiology, but more so like the communication skills that I got and the professionalism that I learned in school. brought that into TELUS as a sales rep. So I was selling phones for about 2 years or so. And during that period of me selling phones, I was building up sales skills that I didn't know I had. And then here we are today in real estate.
I think we all have sales skills. We just don't know what we have inside.
Yeah.
Even someone working in Tim Hortons or McDonald's are selling something, right?
Yeah.
It's just, again, maximizing that skill to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what inspired you to go in real estate? What happened? What turned you around?
Yeah. So in that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it talks about two big things. It's stocks and real estate. And although stocks is a great way for one to build wealth through time, I personally think that in order to make meaningful gains that could help fuel a lifestyle that people see in Instagram and stuff like that,
Yeah.
you need a lot of money. You need like millions of dollars in the stock market in order for you to really feel those wins. You know, a 100% gain on $300 is still just $300.
Exactly.
Right? So in real estate, there's several decimal points over, and we're generally dealing with six figures quite often, right?
Yeah.
You know, we just did a deal together, $280,000 on the buy. That's six figures, right? So when we're talking about real estate, there's a leverage piece that sometimes you need to really look at real estate to have a good understanding of it. But a $280,000 house, you could buy that for under 20 grand. Under 25 grand easily.
Yeah.
So that's really what moved me towards real estate, because I saw that there was a high potential for someone who didn't have a whole lot to use leverage to their advantage. And then if you were in it for a period of time, let's call it 5 years, that $12,000 you invested or $14,000 could in fact become as much as $100,000 in just a 5-year window, depending on what the market does.
Yeah.
And so, you know, okay, then you think about, well, what do I have to do in the stock market with my 12 grand to make those kind of returns in 5 years? Well, unless you're some crazy technical an analyst and can predict what's going to happen
And sit there every day,
and sit
watch
there
it.
every day and day trade or whatever, it's going to be really tough and risky to do that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I really started to put it all together, and I was like, okay, real estate's for me. It makes sense, and that's why I chose to pursue it.
So when was the first deal you made? What year?
It was in 2020. I bought my first house.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
And what was it? A detached house?
It was a detached house.
Okay.
A duplex.
Oh, a duplex. Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, I've been living there since 2020. And the plan with that was because, especially coming out of university, being on the basketball team, a lot of my teammates were actually from Toronto.
Okay.
And I remember before purchasing the house, being inside of their places that they were living in, they were garbage. Like, they were really tough living conditions, because we all know, you think about where University of Winnipeg's located, and then the rental real estate surrounding it, in the like, that's affordable to students.
Yeah.
They're not high quality, right? They're old century homes that haven't been renovated in years, could perhaps even have mice issues. Like, there's just a lot of issues with those houses generally. And so when I bought that duplex, my plan was to actually live upstairs. I'd renovate the upstairs to to a space that my girlfriend and I would enjoy. And then the lower unit was 4 bedrooms, and I was planning on renting it out for like $500 a room.
Oh, to the students?
To my teammates.
Okay.
That I was no longer playing with anymore, but still had a good relationship with some of the guys that were going to come back. But COVID happened, and then, you know, this universities and schools shut down. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, what do we do now? Because what was our potential candidates for tenants,
they're not there anymore.
were not there anymore.
Yeah.
So thankfully, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was God or something like that. But I had an aunt who had a friend who was relocating back to Winnipeg from Ontario. And her husband actually had 2 employees that were living with them in Ontario, and they were going to be needing a place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So, my mortgage there was only like $1,000. It's still only $1,000 today. So it didn't really take a whole lot for us to just live rent free. So they moved here. We charged them like $675 per person, so call it $1,350, and we were living there for free, and that is still going on today.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Where'd you learn these things from when you were new? Of course, it just didn't came in your brain, right?
Yeah.
Probably you learned from somewhere or some person, or there's someone who was mentoring you.
Yeah. A lot of the high level stuff when it comes to like creative financing and things like that, where I took courses for that.
Okay.
But the preliminary, I guess you would call it fundamental information in terms of understanding value, conventional financing with the banks and stuff like that, that was all YouTube. Like learning about the burst strategy, formulas on how to buy flips, the things like that. I just learned that all online. It's all there, right? But coming off of a university, spurt for 4 or 5 years, and I was doing quite well in university. I had like I don't mean to brag, but I had a 3.8 GPA. Like I had a good grades. So what I did was that when I was watching these YouTube videos, I almost took an approach as if I was in a lecture. So I'd play the YouTube video, I'd pull out my notebook, and I would
Making notes.
I'd make notes and listen, and then if I didn't understand something, what is conventional financing? So I'd type in Google conventional financing, and then it would give me a definition, and then now I'd have a deeper understanding of like the financing piece.
I think because social media is very easy these days. There should be no excuse for anyone to say, "Oh, I don't have access to this or that." Social media.
Yeah.
Who doesn't have that?
Exactly.
Right? And you're a key example of what can be done.
Yeah.
With the social media.
Yeah. I probably should add that I had one book that really changed things for me, which was a part of that journey of my education, let's call it.
Yeah.
It was a book by Don Campbell, and maybe some people could find some value in it. It's called Real Estate Investing in Canada by Don Campbell.
Okay.
And if you read that book from start to finish, you'll have the ability to buy your first property without a doubt.
Maybe we can put all those books that you're reading in the caption underneath, right? So it's easy for the viewers to go look what books you're reading.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a friend of mine, because I have another friend who's quite successful in investing as well. His name's Carl, and he's the one who told me about that book while I was doing my research. And who would have thought like that one book would have led to buying 20 rentals after? But I mean, we can get into that in a little bit.
Maybe I should buy the book too.
Yeah, maybe.
But hey, the key is not to buy the book. Read the book.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You can have lots of books and don't read them, right?
Yeah.
Just sitting on your closet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a coach who teach you all those things, who hold you accountable? Like, how does it work? Because what you're doing this age is not very easy.
Oh, no.
Right? But is there someone to grab with your collars? Okay, what have you done today?
I didn't exactly have like a coach that was over my shoulder telling me you should do this and do that. I have, through the past 5 years of being in the business, have had people who acted like that. I guess my first ever formal coach would have been a guy which I feel a lot of people know in the industry. His name's Manjeet Rukra.
Yeah.
He has a course on capital raising, and I feel like one of the big obstacles for a lot of people getting into this business is, well, how do you finance these things?
Yeah.
Because you listen to a podcast or watching a podcast, and I'm talking about having 11 houses ongoing. Well, you think about, well, how much is 11 houses? That's like probably north of $3 million. Like,
easy.
I don't necessarily have $3 million available right now, and I'm not just like some rich guy walking around with $3 million, right? So taking that was a good course for me to really put the two and two together of like how to put the money together for these deals. And then once I really understood that at a high level, I was able to now sell that or pitch that to investors. And then that's kind of what allowed me to have this pool of capital I now use to fuel the business. So he was also a mentor of mine that I really appreciate because he's taught me a lot. But after that first deal I did on I won't say the street, but in the West End, I met another agent who actually the agents that he was working with, they had like something like 40 rentals all together. And at the time, I hear someone who has 40 rentals, like that's a lot of property, right? The one realtor had 30. So I'm like mind blown at that point, and I'm like, okay, a lot of times when you're listening to podcasts or videos and stuff, you hear that you should follow someone who is doing something that you want to do.
You want to do, yeah.
Because they have already paved the way to accomplish that, right?
Yeah.
So, it was a good fit, and in 6 or 7 months, I bought like 13 houses. It was absolutely insane.
In 6-7 months?
Yeah, I bought 13 houses.
Not years, months.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 houses a month. It was crazy.
Can you teach me? No,
Yeah.
that's very good. Good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's amazing.
Some of those houses, I look back, like the deals that I get today, because I have a bit more of a stronger network and I'm a little bit more well known in the space amongst the agents and just investors and stuff like that. The quality of the deals are a lot better. So a lot of my buys aren't even on the MLS anymore. So a lot of it is pretty exclusive. It's off market. It's through some of my marketing lead generation pipelines. And if I could take the deals that I get now, I would much rather turn those ones into the rentals rather than the ones that I currently have. That's why I'm in the middle of selling a lot of them.
I see.
Yeah.
So are you focusing more towards rentals or renovating and selling? What do you do more?
Today I'm more focused on selling. So buy, fix, sell, or flipping. I'm way more into that, just because real estate is a very capital intensive business, especially, you're on the acquisition side and you mainly help buy and sell and you get a fee for the work you do, right?
Yeah.
For someone like me who's a real estate developer, it's a little bit more challenging because, well, there's a lot of risk with what I do. We're just coming off of a downtrend in the market, and 2022 and 2023 were not the greatest years for anyone who was buying and selling real estate. So I would probably say that my main focus is just flips, and the flips is what helps me stay in business.
Because of the funds are coming in and you're rotating that.
Yeah, and rentals aren't easy to manage as well, right? You could easily have, so I have 20 doors. I have 20 doors. And if you have a vacancy at 2-3 houses in a month, those mortgage payments with the interest rate environment we have now could be as high as $1,500. So that's $4,500 out of pocket that you have to pay.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just the mortgage. So you think about your property taxes, which could be conservatively $250.
Insurance.
And then your insurance is like $100, right? So you're really at like close to $2,000 per house in expenses. And if you don't have the money to pay that because the rents aren't coming in, you're screwed, right? So that's why if you're going to have a large portfolio like that, you really need to make sure that you have the reserves to float those periods when you don't have any tenants.
And have few of everything. Just don't focus on one thing.
Yes.
For example, rental will be for long term. It's sitting there, but your flips are bringing money to run those rentals and to acquire more of those units.
Yeah. A good mindset to have for people in real estate, especially when it's like a full-time business for them, I feel is, it's a lot like the real estate is very similar to the stock market in the sense of your positions you have in the market, right? So, there's people where they buy a rental, that's your long-term position.
Yes.
You're looking at not a 1-year time horizon, it's like 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
What is this going to cost? What is this going to earn me inside of that, right?
Equity.
Equity.
It's a game of equity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you think about, okay, well, what about my short term? What's short term? Well, that would be in my opinion, probably your wholesaling, right? For a person like me.
Yeah.
You know, I could go out there, put something under contract and make $2, $3, $4, $5,000 in a day, right? That's like a really short term way of making money. And then your flips, you know, depending on the extent of the construction, could be 3 to 6 months before you earn an income there.
Yeah.
Maybe even a year. So those are like your medium term positions I would consider.
So there's
Like the
short, there's
stocks.
medium, and the long term as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you do new builds too or no?
I have a builder that I work with that would probably like that I would go with if I ever were to have the opportunity to do a new build. But as it sits right now, we actually haven't executed one yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
At this age.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I've done.
Do you coach people? Do you mentor them or no?
I do. I
do?
do offer consulting services for the right candidate.
Of course.
You know, real estate is a really tough business, and I
Not
think
for everyone.
it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Without I've had situations where I would put people in positions to have a lot of success, where I would find the deal for them, find the contractor, find the money for them, and all they had to do was just execute.
Yeah.
And I've seen that fall apart.
Are you serious?
And that's like me, Manjeet, saying,
Yeah.
here you go, here's the deal. This deal is gonna make you 30 grand at the end of it. It's gonna take 3 months. Here's the money, and here's the contractor. Now go and do it.
Yeah.
I've had people fail at that.
And that looks bad on you, right?
Well, yeah, because the people involved in that, the seller, the contractor, and the lender, are all looking at me like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, it is a little bit frustrating, and you know, it's important to know that real estate is a extremely difficult business to be in. Like, it is not easy at all. Everything that you see on Instagram it's a highlight reel.
Yeah.
You know, it's all the wins, it's those huge home run slam dunk flips, it's $1 million listing that you just sold. It's a highlight reel, right?
So when you see those thing on Instagram, they are commercial actors. Not us though, we are real realtors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do coach people if they are wanting to learn basics. But I would need to speak to them first to see.
You have to pick
if
the
it's a
right
good fit.
Yeah, you have to pick the right one. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So we will share your contact in our podcast.
Yep.
If there's someone who they can reach out to you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you can communicate. Before we end this last question, do you regret in being real estate?
Not for a second, no. There's been days where I wake up and I take a deep breath and I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know? But then I get to work and then I remember why I love it so much. You know, I get to do things like this at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday, and I get to go and see my daughter and my girlfriend at home.
She's 2 now, right?
She's 9 months.
Only 9?
Yeah. Oh, she's gonna be 9 months right away. Yeah.
Okay.
And I could do that at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. Like I have a freedom of time to a certain degree, which I really enjoy about real estate and what I do. But it is a business. Again, it's just a career that isn't fit for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's personal choice as well. Again, not everything is for everyone.
Yeah.
You have to pick what's your passion about, what are you passionate about, and just follow, your gut feeling.
Yeah.
Read books.
Yeah.
Have a coach.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Make goals.
Yeah.
Execute it.
Yeah.
It was such a nice talking to you, Denzel.
Thank you for having me.
Person like you at this age, high goals, achievements. It's tough to find people like you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we'll bring you back again
Yeah.
in our podcast with more stories and more achievement and success.
Oh yeah.
But
Anytime.
for today, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And thank you, the viewers, for watching our podcast. Keep on watching, follow us, share videos, and we'll be bringing more and more people to interview them and bringing their stories. Thank you. See you next time. Cut.